Our second guest of honor today, Agnelo Furtado, is a lawyer by profession and a farmer by vocation and passion, who also happens to be the president of Chichini Comunidad. I request him to enlighten all of us upon the existential threat to our Comunidad lands from the government as well as land sharks, and also educate our youth upon importance of maintaining our farmlands for the sake of forthcoming generations. Agnelo Furtado.
A very good evening to everyone. Soglak ek buri saaz aundeta. Today's respected speakers for today's senior investigative journalist Sri Paranjoy Thakurta, senior counsel and environmental activist advocate Norma Alvarez, governor and co-governor Mr. Sundeep Dalvi, and Mr. Abritino Miranda, and their associates, musical warriors, respected activists, friends and admirers of Father Bismarck, and to all the lovely people who have gathered here to honor the memory of Father Bismarck. We are here not to commemorate his death, but to commemorate his life. He was a very lively person, very active person, and that's what we have come here, to commemorate. I am much thrilled and at the same time humbled to brush shoulders with the literati and the glitterati of Goa, especially senior counsel and environmentalist Dr. Norma Alvarez, who I have a great respect. This is the second time I'm sharing the stage with her. First, another occasion recently was at the Heritage Action Group, and I'm very much honored to be on the same podium. I thank Mr. Albertine Miranda for giving me the opportunity to speak at this program on revival of agriculture. And let me start by sort of concentrating on revival of agriculture. Now I have a concept here, what is known as fragmentation and amalgamation of land. Earlier in Goa, thanks to the comunidades and thanks to our forefathers, our comunidades, or what we call Gaonkaris, were not here just for hundreds of years, but for thousands of years, as millennium. And the concept of what we call socialism and how to share the land was here before for thousands of years, and I must say even before the Christianity arrived here to the Far East, including India. Now how the fragmentation has occurred here is because of the Tenancy Act. Goa, Daman and Diu Tenancy Act 1964. They came up with a concept that every tenant will be a deemed owner. And agricultural land, especially who were affected the most, were the comunidades. And under this deemed provision of ownership, land was given to them at 40 paisa. Maybe at that time 40 paisa might be worth something, but that price is still today. And the tenants are only taking the land just because it is cheap. Sometimes they take the land only for the sake to say that I own this land. They don't even bother to plant. Now let us come to the problems why our land has been neglected and not been planted for decades together. The one reason is high labor costs, cattle maintenance. Now let us go to the solutions, how to solve this problem. Now let me tell you, I am not telling you as this of pride. I am the president of Comunidad of Chinchini for the second term. And I got into this of Comunidades and agriculture, say because I literally got pushed into it. Because we were staying in Margaon and our village was in Chinchini, and that was like a summer house for us. But when we came to Chinchini, I found our beautiful land and the fields which are green, neglected, huge trees growing there, and you could literally say our land was being devastated. And our comunidades are actually a democratic, and you can call them mini republics. There were no elections taking place, so I got involved in getting the first elections in Chinchini, and that's how I got elected there 2 times. And I'm also the governor of the Village Development Committee of Chinchini. Now the solution to this is mechanization, because the high labor cost, cattle maintenance. So what my proposition to this, and what actually we have done, is that my associate and close friend, Father George Fathers, he is a niece of Don Bosco's, and he is our associate. He is into farming now for the last 10 years, and I am associated with him for the last 9 years. And we call him the real Zotkashi. The Zotkashi is the person who actually plows the land, and we put all our heavy plows, or what you call that, this at that time, the Zotkashi is to take all the heavy plows and plow the land. And this is only a figurative sense which I am putting here, is that we put all the burden on Father George, and he is the one actually the working hand. And to revive this agriculture, what we presume is you require minimum 10 hectares. 10 hectares is 1 lakh square meters. Now how we started is we started at a place known as Digwaman with 25 hectares of land. And the biggest problem here was, it was actually a lake which during summertime is to be planted. So we required fencing. Finally we fenced the area, but then we are having other problems. The cattle also were smarter than us. The buffaloes, they used to dive in the rivulet, and wherever the fence is there, go underneath the fence and then devastate. So finally we had to stop that, and I call that was our anti-submarine warfare. So finally we got a good yield. Next we started with another place known as Pato, which had 30 hectares, and we had to put 7 gates. Then we started with another field known as Boden, which was having 15 hectares. Then we started with Devsua, another 15 hectares. So we are totally at present cultivating 80 hectares. Now what are the advantages of mechanization? The mechanization, first of all, we require tractors, we require transplanters, and we use drones. Drone actually is very helpful for us. As far as spraying is concerned, we spray fertilizers. And with the drone, you can fertilize the fields very fast. For about 1 hectare, probably it will take just around 45 minutes. If you were to do that, manually, it would probably take you 1 day also. The second advantage of the drone is that that is what is known as micro spraying. The drone flies just maybe about 2 meters above the field, and then the spray is very much localized, and it goes exactly on the green sheaves of the rice plantation, so that there is no extra spraying. In some places, what they do, they just throw excess fertilizer, excess insecticide, which goes into the water and contaminates. So this is one advantage of it. Now to tell you, one of our fields here, which is known as Pato, we had 30 hectares to be transplanted, and we used 10 machines, 4 tractors and 6 transplanters, and this was some sort of a challenge which we took, and just in one day we covered 1.7 lakh square meters, that is 17 hectares. And this is what is possible if we have land together in one place. Then we started another small experiment where we put what is known as alsandes, or they call it cowpeas. The advantage of this is that when you rotate the crops with the rice and the alsandes, that it gives nitrogen to the soil, and it doesn't require other fertilizers. Being organic fertilizer, that helps. Now the question will be, we are all doing all this, but what about the next generation? Are we motivating the next generation to come forward and plant our fields? Now, just as this, I'm giving you this of the next generation which has got insight in this cultivation of this field. We have an associate sort of a company, or rather an association of people, and there are 3 people into that. One is Mr. Kenneth Lopez, who was actually aircraft engineer. He gave up his lucrative job and he's joined to help in this manning this machinery, including the drones, then the transplanters and the harvester. Then there's another gentleman, Neville Lewis. He was on the rigs. He is also part of this organization. There's one Mr. Stanley Fernandez, who is an IT graduate. Then we have George Simons, who is an agriculture graduate. He has bought a tractor now, and he has bought also a transplanter. Now we need to get our younger generation and how to motivate them. Many times you hold some sort of programs for the school and the college students and demonstrate to them and show them how to operate the tractors, how to operate the drones. And regarding the drones, I'm not telling you as a this of pride. Our MLA is Mr. Kuru Silva, who is part of the Aam Aadmi. So when the Chief Minister of Delhi came here, Sri Arvind Kejriwal, and the Chief Minister of Punjab, Sri Bhagwant Mann, so he came and we invited him, and he was quite surprised that we are using drones. And he said, we even Punjab being such a big this, we have not up to now started using drones. So we were quite happy that somebody is appreciating the work we are doing. Now let me tell you this of the role of the comunidades. Because the comunidades were here, they were a collective this, and we have survived many of the calamities which other parts of India have gone through, like the Bengal famine of 1770. I'm not talking about the later one which was that was a man-made created famine. So Goa, survived it only because of our good agriculture people who were there and the comunidades. Then again we have the Chinese famine, which is 1959 to 61, which is because of bad policies. Everybody wanted to go for industrialization and neglected agriculture. So somebody once said, तुका पयशे आसतले पूण तुका जेवपाक शीतकोडी आसची ना. So that is what we must remember. Then there is a case of Sri Lanka where everybody went to the other extreme of going everything organic, which is a good thing but rather difficult to maintain economically. Now Goa went through a phase just before liberation through an economic blockade, and they thought that they would stifle Goa, the other parts of India, because we were not given our freedom, that economic blockade would work. But that didn't work more so because of comunidades. The comunidades were actually the rice bowl of Goa. And that's how, we have survived the economic blockade. Now I have to say one small saying, which I say that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. But I have a small corollary to that, and I have to say that idle mind is an idle field is the builder's workshop. Because if you keep a field idle, the first thing what they do is that a builder comes and he has his own ideas how to get a construction over it. So that's my advice. If you have even a small patch of field, please don't keep it uncultivated. Cultivate it so that it doesn't become a place. First it starts as a dumping ground. Otherwise it starts as they first try to show as though they are doing some agriculture work there, keep some plants. Behind it, the cement brick starts. And after that, building starts. And that's how the whole field gets spoiled. And there is another saying which is there. It says, to command nature, you need to obey nature. See, when you try to command nature, then nature reacts back on you. And that is what is happening today. You've seen cyclones, typhoons, storms. That is the reaction of the environment which we try to create. What is the use? It is better to get fresh breeze by the side of our barns rather than sit in air conditioners. Now we are creating so many air conditioners that on what the air conditioners are working. Getting power from somewhere, we can't see it, but at some remote place you are really creating a bad environmental problem, especially of pollution. So the best thing is we should maintain our nature and greenery. Now coming back to our comunidades, this is the second part of it. So let me explain to you in brief what is a comunidad. A comunidad, it all started by this known as Gaunkaris. Gaunkaris actually is the original term for the comunidades. Thousands of years, it's a millennium of years ago, the Gaunkaris started. The Gaunkar, as the name is self-descriptive, is a person native of the village. Now some people have even surnames with the name Gaunkar. You must have probably heard now lately one gentleman who speaks very well, and his name is Kishore Naik Gaunkar, and he is actually a Gaunkar from the north. Secondly, the Gaunkaris started long before the Portuguese came here. And now let me cite you just as an example, how a Gaunkari functions and what a Gaunkari is. And that example I've taken is from the Karamoli Comunidad. And thanks to my good friend who gave me this insight is Valmiki Falero. He has given me some inputs, how these comunidades and especially Karamoli Comunidad came to being and how it worked. See, it first started as a tribal families got together or as clans, which we know as Vangors. And the Vangor, there are about 8 Vangors in Karamoli. And the Karamali, I'll tell you the names to be a little brief, which are the families. She started first by one father whose surname was Vaz. Then later on, of course, he didn't have succession, so it became later Vaz Falcão. Then there were the Lobos, Colasos, Dissas, Rodrigues, Nunes, Pereiras, Valadares and Viegas. Of course, earlier they must have been all converted from the Hindu origin. Now, Karamuli is considered one of the richest comunidades, and it was a walled city called Ela, and it had 7 gates. Anybody passing through that village of Ela, he had to pay some tax, and as a symbol on his shoulder, a chap was put. It was known as the rice bowl of Goa, and is to have a lot of income by way of their produce, and that was known as zone, and the people were known as zonkars. Its slate was the lifeline and the bonanza, but which got polluted with the death of elephants. At that time they used to use elephants for transport and maybe other this also. And 4 of these elephants got drowned into this lake, and that created an epidemic. So the Lobos and the Nunis, had to run away from the place, and they came to Kalangut, and they came riding on camels, and which in Konkani we call Unt, and that name is still there, and that Wadav is known as Unta Wadav. Then I'll just cite you an example of Dissas. Dissas came to Korli, and this is a family which is quite well known, Bailon Dissa. Then the Colasos and the Balus came to Veli. Then the Viegas from Carvana. Now our present MLA Venzi Viegas, he is the president of Karamuli Comunidad. Then there are the Valadares who are settled in Verna Comunidades. Our comunidades were like mini republics, and this was noted by Father Harris when he came here, and that was very much working like a democracy, because there used to be elections. People used to sit in a place what is known as a mand, where everybody used to get together, and the headman or the head chieftain, he used to guide the people what to do. This is a classic case of what we call community farming. All the lands of the Gaukars all were put together, planted in community, and then shared in community. And each of these Gaukars, they could not have enough finance. So they invited other people to join them, and that's how the shareholding came into the comunidades. What we call these accounts or shares of the comunidad. So when the produce is there, the produce is either divided equally or it is sold, and the money which is got as income, it is divided by way what you call that the profits which are being shared according to it is like something like a private limited company. The concept of socialism came thousands of years before, long before even Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels came up with the concept of socialism in their book Das Kapital. Now we have to actually appreciate all our native people for building these kazans, barns, moving millions of tons of earth with spades and pickaxes and bullock carts. At that time there were no machinery. Only with this, they built, wonders. Today, whatever we are managing by way of sluice gates, barns, those barns are like the highways of the yesteryear. And this is probably the 8th or the 9th wonder of the world, comparing this of Goa. And these comunidades are something very unique, which are there only in Goa, and perhaps the whole of India, as far as I know, I have not seen any similar this, and maybe in other parts of the world also. So it's very unique, it is democratic, and we need to protect it. Now we have a special, what you call that, paddy or rice known as korwood and asgo, which is salt resistant. Secondly, with the help of these sluice gates and which are made on the river banks, it acts both for pisciculture as well as for rice. So it's a double income. Now this is the comunidad. He has come now to an existential crisis, like somebody said. And then now the government is coming with the schemes, what they are known as, in fact the legislation, what they are calling this Majenga. So now we have no alternatives but to go to the High Court, and 8 comunidades have gone to the High Court. I am one of the petitioners, and I am the petitioner number 2. And here among the audience, the petitioner number 1, Sr. Jean-Philippe Pereira from Nagua. He is a well-known social activist, and he is here with us. And I am very thankful to him for having guided us, how to go about. I think I'm overshot my timing, so I'm just cutting down my this. Now this with Father Bismarck, just give me 2 minutes, okay? Father Bismarck was an eco-warrior, eco-crusader. He is something a mix between Che Guevara and Geronimo of the Red Indians. He literally foretold his story like Jesus Christ, what will happen to him. And I would probably compare him to some people, many people, good leaders have been assassinated by their own people, like Gandhi, Abe Lincoln, John Kennedy, Martin Luther King. Then we have here Davolkar, Govind Pansare, Gauri Lankesh. Then we have Father Stan Swami, Judge Lohiya. And I remember I and Father Bismarck, we walked from Azad Maidan all the way to the assembly, and thanks to the motivation of our Dr. Claude Alvarez, and he said, "Tum kona bitare, cholya cholun," and we walked all the way, and we waited at the gate of the assembly, and we exchanged some jokes there. Because of lack of time, I'm just cutting short my this, and there are many here activists who we need to protect and appreciate them. Like Rama Kankonkar, today itself somebody was in the papers, if you read, one of the, this was, killed I think because he was protecting the hills in Moriji. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agnelo Furtado, for sharing with us the great work you are doing in saving Comunidad lands, which are a gift to us from ancestors, and also training the youth to use modern methods of cultivation so that we have enough, and so that the land grabbers don't try to grab what is left of all this. Because once we make use of something what we have, then there's no chance for others to use their tactics and take what is there.